Hi, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday. It's Friday, right? Shout out to everybody. Oh, Lord, this hair is crazy today. Welcome, everybody. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Shout out to you guys. Look, let me get this little intro going, and hopefully that'll send those notifications out, and the people can get in here and we can have a conversation. It's Friday. Get your coffee, your water, whatever. I'm out of coffee, so I had to get ice water, which I'm not happy about, but whatever. Let me do this intro, give people some time to get in here, and we'll get started. Let's go. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Thank you guys so much for being here. Shout out to you guys. It is Friday. It is what it is. I'm so happy that it's Friday. I'm a little tired today. I'm out of coffee, so my energy level is very low, and I'm trying to get myself up and psyched and trying to do stuff to get myself up. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see Pika, SW. Who else? Who else? Who else? Shelly Kelly, welcome. Thank you for being here. Who else do I see? I know I saw some familiar faces that I haven't seen in a minute. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Some Instacart rabbits. I need coffee stat. That's yours. So, like, I need it in the veins at this point. I'm gonna have to run and go get some. Mellow one, thank you for being here. Oh my gosh, y'all are awesome. Thank you so much. Who else? Kitty Coo, how are you? Nebulous, how you doing, my love? Oh wow, Pika, DB, thank you for being here. Shout out to you guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And I just have to shout out my members. Thank you. I know I saw Miss Jackie in the chat earlier. Evil Queen, how you doing, love? Welcome. Pippi, you looking forward to this? I've always wondered about this. Look, I'm so glad. Look at you guys. I woke up thinking about this topic because, well, somebody left it in the comments. Let me just be real. But I did wake up thinking about that very much situation, right? I did a video on the Menendez brothers. We'll watch a little bit of it, not the whole thing. I'll link the whole video in the description box so you guys can watch it. And even this specific video, it really got me to thinking about the Menendez brothers. For those that don't know what's going on with the Menendez brothers case and don't understand that case at all, I mean, this was the case that happened back in 1989. You had this very well-to-do family. Dad escaped Cuba. Jose Menendez escaped Cuba, graduated from a university, very much got his degree in finance, became a CPA, became an exec of RCA, okay, and really hit it off in the industry, okay. They have two sons. Mary's Kitty. They have Kitty Menendez. They have two sons, and this case was very much an infamous case back in the time. A very horrific crime. Kitty and Jose Menendez were watching TV when they were shot with a 12 gauge shotgun. Okay. Right in the face and the head, just you would just imagine how grotesque this crime scene was. Um, they 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 shot them. Okay. The boys, Eric and Lyle Menendez, their own children confessed to the crime. There is no doubt about that they didn't do this crime. They did this crime. They definitely did. But back in those times, and they had a couple of trials in it. I think it was 1996 where they were finally like convicted and sentenced. They were given a life sentence for the murders of their parents. During the trials, they alleged that they had been molested, sexually molested by their father, Jose Menendez. Okay. Very much graphic details. Family members spoke out about this. A lot of people spoke out about this. But that was not something that was plausible or believed. I don't feel like the defense did I mean, first of all, they wouldn't allow it in one of the trials, okay? But they didn't do the best job in terms of bringing this to light. All right. So yes, and then they thank you, Roberta. They confessed, and then they went on a shopping spree because they had all this money. You got to understand, man. They had an upcoming inheritance. And for those that don't really get this, like part of me, like I remember growing up and hearing how you know kids shouldn't be greedy, like understanding greed comes like where it comes from. You're if you have too much money, this is the kind of cautionary tale of what happens. This is why some of us don't we're aren't raised in this kind of environment, right? And that's just me sharing my experience, right? But just kind of giving you a perspective of what that felt like growing up and knowing that this case existed. Shout out to Kim. She's like, I'm not completely sure about this case. I don't know about the defense. Yes. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because there were some people in my comments when I dropped the video on the Menendez brothers who said, well, if they release Gypsy Rose Blanchard, if they release Gypsy Rose, why can't they release the Menendez brothers? And I was like, Lord have mercy. I mean, yeah, I guess that's a great question. Gypsy Rose, assisted in the murder of the mother. She did. She did do that. Y'all can't take that away. And the thing is, the reason why I'm very careful about, not even careful, I really don't give a shit in terms of like what people feel when I say this, but people in the Gypsy Rose fan base, it's a very polarizing topic. You're either for Gypsy Rose or you're like against Gypsy Rose. And there can't be any in between. And for me, I feel like I can be in between. I could see some of the stuff that Gypsy Rose does as problematic. I can agree with that. I also feel like she's done some of her time. Do I feel like she's somebody that should be celebrated? Not particularly, I don't. I feel like she's somebody that really needs to focus on her own mental health, her self growth, not social media growth, self growth. There's a difference, y'all. There's a difference. I do feel like she could be an asset to certain topics. I feel like she was an adult when she killed her mother, or not killed her mother, I'm sorry, when she assisted in that situation. Let me take that back. Because y'all Gypsy Road fans, stands, grands, whatever, are gonna come for me in the comments and you're gonna be like, Rabbit, she didn't do this. And I'm gonna be like, yes, she played a part in it. Okay. She didn't just get convicted for what she did just to get convicted. She played a part. Now, was the abuse a situation because her mother put her through the shit that she did? Yeah, I agree. Nobody, no child, nobody should be put through that. Okay. Nobody. But she played a part in a lot of what happened to her mom. Okay? She owns that to a certain degree. Some of these people try to rewrite the narrative. Thank you, Benny, that she did her part. Can we agree to that? The Gypsy Rose fans? She did her part. We wouldn't know of a Gypsy Rose if she didn't do her part. I mean, let's be real. You know what I'm saying? Oh, Cash says, love CEO, love Rabbit, love the Bunny Gang. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being a member for 16 freaking months. And Jackie Sue, thank you for renewing your membership, love. Shout out to you, Jackie. I saw you earlier. I was like, is Jackie back? Shout out to Jackie. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Uh-huh. Okay. She had a he she had hell of a part. Yeah. I mean, she played a part in it. So can we agree to disagree to a certain degree, right? Like something to that effect. I'm starting to rhyme in my words. That's not good. It's not good. I haven't had coffee. Hmm, Shout out to you, Jackie. She did. She played a part. Okay. I just want to make sure because Lori, because look at the people she was to look at Belinda. The people tried to come into the comments I've talked about Gypsy Rose and then they tried to rewrite the narrative. And I'm like, listen, this is not how this was, but this is how it was. Do I believe she was a victim? Yeah, she was. Absolutely. So with that whole situation, let's go to the Menendez brothers. How come the Menendez brothers, now that we have this new evidence through this habeas corpus that was submitted, I'm not an attorney, okay? But I believe that's what it's called, okay? That was submitted. How come, we can't revisit that case and look at potential child abuse that happened, okay? And some of the family members that supported some of those allegations back in the 90s, because they were new information, new details that supported these allegations, and get these men to a lesser charge or to at least look at the case. I mean, I think it's a possibility. I think we should. We should. Now, let me be very clear. None of this justifies the murders of any of these people. I don't feel like Gypsy Rose or John, any of these people that murder their relatives. I understand. Sometimes it feels like, there's no way out, but this is not the way to do it. Not the way to do it. I want us to look at an article by 48, is it 48 hours? 48 hours. Was it? Yes. CBS, okay? So this was really last year news, but a lot of us, like myself included, we're waiting to hear this new decision, okay, on what is going to happen. The LA, I think it was Los Angeles, they received this petition. They're looking into it in terms of they're investigating the habeas corpus as well on the Menendez brothers. Okay, so the Menendez brothers await a decision they hope will free them. 48 Hours did a 48-hour special. If y'all watch that show, they do like their little specials and whatnot every, what is it, Thursday or Friday or whatever. You can watch the full episode right there. Lyle and Eric Menendez have been behind bars in California for more than 3 decades for the 1989 killings of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. They were convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison in the notorious case that captured the nation's attention. Now, the brothers are hoping that new evidence will reopen their case and set them free. So they did the 48-hour special. All right, y'all can watch it. The Menendez brothers admitted that they killed their parents. Instead, the focus of the case has long been on why they did it. They insist that they killed out of fear and in self defense after a lifetime of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse suffered at the hands of their parents. Okay, one of their lawyers, Cliff, tells 48 Hours that the new evidence corroborates those long-standing claims and lessens their culpability. Now, let's stop right here. This is where I kind of see the other side of this argument. When Jose and Kitty were killed, shot with the shotgun, They were sitting in a living room. Okay. There was no active sexual abuse or physical abuse going on at that time. There was premeditation that happened when this crime occurred. There was premeditation, all right? You can't take that away, okay? It wasn't like they were physically, sexually being harmed at that moment. They were not. And so in self-defense, they acted. No, there was premeditation. They purchased it, they traveled to purchase these guns. They had a plan and whatnot set out for them to do this murder. That's what they did. Okay. I think that that's important to point out because you have to think about the fact that some folks like, it's different when when they're in the act of something happening versus there being like residual trauma. I'm so glad you used this word. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, it's a little bit different. You could even make the argument with Gypsy Rose. Gypsy Rose. Oh no, Vic, you do that treadmill, love. Physical health is more important. I'm so glad you're here, but shout out to you. Yet they were not in immediate danger. Gypsy Rose was not in an immediate danger. Gypsy Rose was an adult when the premeditation happened. That's one thing that you can compare the Menendez brothers to Gypsy Rose. Premeditation it was going on. They were planning. Okay? Do we agree? Let me know in the chat. If y'all feel different, if y'all feel like Rabbit, you're insane, you can't compare these, let me know in the chat. Because I'm good with that. We can agree to disagree. Okay. Cool. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. Let me take a little drink. Okay, so one of their lawyers tells them that there's new evidence. The lawyer argues that Lyle and Eric should have been convicted of manslaughter instead of first degree murder. And that if they had been, they would have received a much shorter sentence and been out of prison a long time ago. So they show us a little image of a letter. This is the new evidence in the case that includes this letter written by Eric Menendez to his cousin Andy Cano in December of 1988, a year before the murders. A cousin of Eric, they had some correspondence. Okay, this cousin has since died. I believe he died in like 2003, my understanding. And they found this letter. Now, where they found this letter, I don't know. Maybe it was in storage. Maybe they forgot. Melissa Love, I'm gonna put your comment up in here so I don't forget to read it. But this was interesting, right? And in this letter, Eric tells Andy about the fact that he's kind of tired of the dad, Jose, everything that he's doing to him. Andy knew of the abuse. Andy knew about the abuse. And there were other family members that knew about the abuse. There are very distinct things that were said that are very, very much important to put out there as far as this letter. And neuropsych baby, do you know? This is a great question. Do you know if the letter was authenticated? I don't know. I know that it was presented and it's part of their habeas corpus little new evidence thing. So what they were able to find out is that it was written by Andy. I'm not really sure if they got a signature expert or whatnot, or what exactly to kind of determine. But what they can say that this was written a year before the murders of Kitty and Jose. And Melissa, shout out to her. Let me read her comment because I don't want to forget. Sorry, don't agree with that. My stepfather passed. So you're saying since he abused me, I had the right to unalive him? No, Melissa, I don't think I said that. I don't think you understand what I'm saying. Let me know. She says, sorry, don't agree with that. My stepfather passed. So you're saying since he abused me, I had the right to unalive him? No. Do y'all understand what she's saying? Let me know, let me know, let me know. Maybe y'all can help her. But does premeditation even apply? Is ongoing abuse in the home of minors? That's a great question. No, it's not an excuse. Yeah, no, it's not an excuse. Melissa, I think that's what, yeah. She says, Melissa, sorry if that happened to you. However, Rabbit never said that at all. I didn't say that at all. I'm making a comparison, Melissa. So please, maybe you need to go back a little bit and listen to what I said to kind of understand that. And I'm so sorry that you went through that. Well, that kind of makes sense to me. If you are being abused, report it. Right. What I'm saying to you guys, thank you. Rabbit was saying that premeditation, that they had planned it. Yes, they had planned it. Now, like I said, murder is never okay under any circumstances. That is not at all what I'm saying. Um, yeah, I never said that. I'm speaking in general. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all got me, okay? And no worries. Shout out to Melissa. I just think that she misunderstood what I'm saying. Unaliving someone in the heat of the moment is totally different than pre-planning and preparing to do it. Thank you, Roy. I love this comment. There's a difference. There's a difference. And this is what I'm making that comparison. There's a difference between unaliving somebody. You're killing somebody at the heat of the moment because you're experiencing actual physical and sexual abuse. All right. We've seen that, right? That fight or flight. They're abusing me. They're sexually abusing me at that moment. There's a knife. There's a weapon. I'm about to grab it and I'm about to off this person. That's different versus the premeditation of you're planning to kill somebody because of the sexual or physical abuse that they've put you through. Yes, agreed, Cash. Some people call it crimes of passion. That's a great way to put it. Thank you. There's a difference. Whew. All right. Ana Contreras says it should never be a choice to murder someone to get away. Shout out to Anna, thank you. Melinda says, but the bad thing is that sometimes you report it, and if they got money, nothing is done about it. It keeps continuing because you know what money you can buy you silence. You can buy freedom. You can buy anything you want most of the time. That's true. I mean, money talks. Money talks. Right. So yes. And so SW, and that's the point that I'm trying to make. Menendez Brothers is premeditation. There was premeditation in the Gypsy Rose case. Everybody dropped that? You guys got that, right? Okay. Okay. Intent. Thank you, Lamb. Shout out to Lamb. Intent. But they were all three of these individuals are victims, right? They allege abuse. Back in when all this was going down, you see, here's the deal. Gypsy Rose was an adult when the crime happened. Eric and Lyle Menendez were also adults when the crime happened. Okay. Yes. And Lyle and Eric Menendez, they stopped and reloaded the shotgun, especially on Mama, on Kitty. Yes, that did happen. So Lyle and Eric have never not said we're innocent. It didn't happen. What they're saying is that they were victims. And so they were acting upon the mindset of residual trauma, right? Just like Gypsy Rose would be acting in the mindset of residual trauma, which, if you think about it, man, there's a lot of comparisons to these cases if you're looking at it that way, right? It's interesting. Julie, thank you for becoming a member. Shout out to you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope so too, Vic. I hope Melissa, I mean, I didn't see her comment anymore. Seems like she might have left the chat. She did. I hope she caught that. But if she didn't catch that, I hope everybody else did. Shout out to everybody. You know, it's pretty it's a complex situation to kind of understand, but I did wake up kind of thinking about like the comparisons of these two cases, which in my opinion, if they're alleging this sexual abuse and there's actual evidence that would support this, yeah, why wouldn't they like get a new trial or get this case over, like maybe look at this a little bit different, get a lesser charge, whatever, excuse me, the legal technicalities are. Okay, Melissa says, okay, maybe I don't understand you. It just hits a nerve since I'm a victim and this girl got off. Sorry. No, Melissa, you're fine. I'm glad you're here. Shout out to you. Yeah, I'll drop some hearts for Melissa. I understand. And this is why I give you the biggest trigger, not just you, but everybody that's listening to this biggest trigger warning, because this is a huge topic of essay. I'm so sorry for what you've been through, and anybody else in the chat. Shout out to you guys. But thank you, love, for sticking around. Look at all these hearts for you, love. You are so welcome, and nobody's attacking you. Okay. All right. Let's get it together. Hey, Johnson, let's get it together. So The new evidence includes a letter that the attorney says was written by Eric Menendez to his cousin, Eric, Andy Cano. Andy has since passed away in 2003. And this letter was written in December of 1988, about 8 months before the crime. The letter reads, in part, I've been trying to avoid Dad. It's still happening. Andy, but it's worse for me now. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I'm afraid he's crazy. He warned me 100 times about telling anyone, especially Lyle. So this man, allegedly, this is what the abuse, this is how it was going on. According to Lyle and Eric Menendez, Jose Menendez was sexually abusing both of his boys. They didn't initially know about it until they talked about it amongst each other. Okay? So that's what was going on. Kitty was told by various family members, and Kitty wasn't believing it. Kitty was ignoring it, right? At least this is what they're saying. So I was thinking in my mind, yes, the female, thank you, Miss Jackie. The female cousin said that mom knew, and that's what grinds everybody's gears. You're so right about that. People at the time of the trial, they focus on the big spending spree post incident, and they received a lot of monies. I mean, they were kids that were rich, and that was how everything went down back then. Absolutely. That nobody condones murder. However, everyone can understand irrational thoughts at the hands of the abuse. Absolutely. Thoughts and actions are two different things. Premeditation is a whole nother story. Lexi, I love your comment, love. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. But they were painted rich and spoiled brats. I'd have to say that. You have to be a certain kind of sick to touch your own kids, right? And so it's a lot. And Whisper, or what is it? Horse Whisperer says, I think the allegations of abuse should have been included in the mitigation process for sentencing. Well, we're going to get into that here in a minute. But there was evidence, guys. There was evidence. They had a couple of trials. They said, one trial they said no. The other trial they were like, well, we're not going to believe that. We're going to exclude this. So people really didn't get to hear some of this. Okay? And mom, allegedly, according to a relative, just kind of sat there and allowed it, didn't believe it. Or was she complicit? I mean, listen, I don't know. I don't know. It's a sad situation. But my understanding as far as how the marriage was going on between these two, there was affairs, there was mistresses, there was a lot of things. Look at Steven's like, they need to be out of prison. All right. So I did a video, and we're not going to watch this whole video, but I want to talk a little bit about this video that I did, because it got me to this rabbit hole. And even though the Menendez Brothers story is not trending, I thought it was an important story to tell. And I was like, wait a minute, there's so many similarities if you think about it with Gypsy Rose. As a child, I remembered the Menendez case as a cautionary tale of greed. You don't want to be like those Menendez brothers, children that murdered their parents out of waiting for some inheritance and making allegations of horrific sexual abuse after their deaths. That was the cautionary tale of the Menendez brothers. Greed. This was the narrative that was painted when I was growing up and listening to the media. I was a little girl then, 5 or 6 years old. So obviously I didn't follow the case much when it was going on. Then you had the media that would trivialize the allegations of abuse that came about during the Menendez trial. The allegations became the butt of every joke.
It's not about that. Get over it. And let's face it, Kitty and Jose had to go. Here's the deal. You stick a toothbrush up your 6-year-old kid's ass, he gets to blow you away in the family room. That's the rule. Leslie Everson, go on, girl. You're doing a great job. And all right, I know they don't exactly have an airtight case, okay? Lyle went on a little bit of a spending spree a week after the murders. He got a couple Rolexes and a $70,000 Porsche. But you know what? Sometimes you just have to treat yourself. You do. Make yourself feel better. Like one time I went to the mall and I got a whole bunch of caramel corn just because I felt like it. And the other thing is, Lyle is my boyfriend. He just doesn't know it yet.
This was the 90s. Did people really take child abuse allegations serious? But then again, they were adults when they were making these allegations. So keep that in mind.
You know what's so crazy? And Kim, you say you don't like Kathy. She has I don't know. I feel like she's made a lot of changes, but I mean, I kind of wonder if she looks back into some of her jokes because it wasn't just Kathy Griffin. It was Jay Leno. It was so many people, so many shows. The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I mean, there was just so many shows that I would watch, and every once in a while I'd catch like a Menendez Brothers joke, you know? Tammy, excuse me, says, I think the boys have done their time. It should be released. Well, thank you, Stephen. I'm glad you guys watch it. I hope you guys, I mean, thank you, and please share it. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I do feel the Menendez brothers should be out now. Gypsy needs to go back. Jackie's not a fan of Gypsy Rose. I don't know. I don't know. Karen says, I think what went against them is the spending of all the watches, right? And the wild actions afterwards, on top of the saying they killed them. Oh, right, Karen. I mean, it was a lot. They've done their look at y'all. Look, all right, all right, all right. I mean, but do you guys see the comparison? Y'all see the comparison?
I know you and me are having a thing here, and I know you hate me, but I need you to be civil, at least through dinner, and then on the way home you can pull a Menendez. Deal?
You know who hung out with their parents? The Menendez brothers.
Well, I'm not a fan of the murders, but a big fan of the sweaters.
And then this was in the 2000s. I mean, even then, people were kind of poking fun at the Menendez brothers.
Meet Lyle, who's been most everywhere, from New York town to Old Bel-Air. But Eric's not as fancy-free, his man is time in therapy. What a dangerous pair, but they're brothers. They're murdering brothers, killed with hate.
Well, you can't forget Jay Leno, right? Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of punchlines for the Menendez brothers. He certainly did.
So I can definitely understand why coming out and telling people that you were being sexually abused would have been something that people don't talk about, especially in the Latino community. I mean, no, no, no. In the Latino community, there was no way that Jose Menendez, this prosperous Latino RCA executive who left Cuba, graduated from a university, and then met his wife, Kitty Menendez, and then became a successful CPA businessman, would have subjected his boys to this horrific abuse. I mean, that's just no way. There's no way. And allegedly, Kitty, his wife, the mother of Lyle and Eric Menendez, knew about the abuse and remained quiet. I mean, they had their marital problems, the cheating, alleged mistresses, but was Jose Menendez abusing his own boys?
To be fair, the Menendez brothers did kill their parents.
It's August 21st, 1989. We're at 722 North Elm Drive.
Premeditation. Premeditation. They did kill their parents. Just like Gypsy Rose played a part, there was premeditation there, right?
Reported double homicide. Present at the scene are Detectives Zoller, myself, and Linehan.
Lyle, now 55, and Eric, 52, were convicted of first-degree murder in 1996 for the murder of their parents, Jose and Kitty Menendez. The brothers shot them to death at their Beverly Hills mansion on August 20th, 1989. Allegedly, the motive, based on what the prosecutor presented, it was so they can inherit their parents' $14 million estate. However, the defense is claiming and has claimed that the brothers claimed the killings were an imperfect self-defense after a lifetime of physical and sexual abuse from their parents. Their first trial resulted in a hung jury. The allegations of abuse were restricted in the second trial, and prosecutors insisted that abuse claims were a lie. This is an interesting comment, and I want to highlight it. Kim says, in my opinion, the Menendez brothers didn't have an scapegoat like Gypsy. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? Because one of the things that came to mind, and this is just me thinking out loud, Gypsy being a woman and the Menendez boys being men, and also this men aren't typically believed when they allege sexual abuse, right? Y'all follow that? Men are typically, especially in my community, Men are typically not believed. And then you add the component of wealth, okay? You add the component of wealth. That's another piece. Men are typically not believed when it comes to allegations of sexual abuse. And then you add the component of wealth. You add the component of being Latino, having a parent from Cuba. Like, these are things these are factors. Whereas women, it's a little bit different. We can sympathize. We can, and I'm not general. I'm just giving y'all an idea of how abuse is typically look like, right? And let me tell you something. One of the other things, right? Because first of all, I've never had wealth like the Menendez, but I remember growing up and thinking, and there was a lot of people that would say, well, those are kind of like, those are rich people problems, those are the rich people problems. We're over here worrying about what we going to eat today, arroz and frijoles, like that type of thing. Those are rich people problems, we don't really know how to relate to just somebody just having problems, because we put a lot of these barriers in there that make it so hard for folks to be able to just say, yeah, I can relate to this. Yes. There was no way out, right? The fact is, Gypsy and her brothers were tried in different states. Gypsy and the brothers were tried in different states with different laws. Good point. Good point. Males are not believed at the time at all. Absolutely. Males are typically not believed. Men are less likely to talk about it. Absolutely. Especially back then. Men wasn't. And you got to remember, the little Spanish prosecutor was a white dude, in my opinion. Oh, Lord. Let's see. She was seen as a child and helpless. They didn't get that sympathy. We couldn't see. And this is all honest. Like, honestly, I could see, and maybe not necessarily understanding Gypsy Rose's case, where I see her being a helpless young woman. Menendez brothers are, two young men, but I didn't quite understand the helplessness because, in my mind, I'm thinking, well, they have money. Well, how do I know? How is it? Maybe this money wasn't, like, maybe Jose Menendez said, if you don't sleep with me, I'm just giving you guys an example. If you don't sleep with me, you're not going to have any of this inheritance. If you don't do X, Y, and Z, you're not going to have any of this inheritance. Just like Gypsy Rose's mom, right? She could have told Gypsy Rose, if you don't comply, if you don't fake this, you're not going to, this is what's going to happen to you. This is what's going to happen to me. It was a conditioning of the mind, right? Both ways, if you look at it, they share some similarities to a degree, right? At the time of the murders, she was an adult, my pal, at the time of the murders. The media showed us that they wanted what they wanted in the case. That is the problem with a lot of the essays, right, Don? Right? Just an idea. I'm saying the same thing. All right. So y'all are with me? Okay, and I'm sure they were drugged before the essay. They're SAR victims. Thank you, Anonymous, for your comment. How is that justice in society? Yes, absolutely. Yet abuse. You know what, Petty? You are so right on this comment. It's just a different way to think of things and put things into perspective. I mean, this is what was playing in my mind, okay? The brothers were convicted and sentenced to life in prison without parole. Now the attorneys for the brothers are pointing out new evidence, new pieces of evidence that confirm of sexual abuse by the father. One of those pieces of evidence is a newly discovered letter Eric wrote just 8 months before the murder. And an additional piece of new evidence we'll be discussing here soon.
Listen to how Nancy Grace describes the crime scene and all the
And
details.
on the phone was the older brother.
And I want to know, how's Nancy Grace feeling about this? Like, if the habeas corpus gets investigated and gets through, and they're either the case gets thrown out, or say that they get a lesser sentence. I'm kind of wondering what her thoughts are, because she played a vital role in a lot of this. I mean, she in media, right?
Brother, 21-year-old Lyle, screaming 3 times, Lyle calls out for his younger brother, Eric. And you can hear Eric in the background crying and screaming about his parents dead. I will never forget the description of the crime scene. The father, Jose, was found sitting up like a mannequin. There at Jose's feet was his wife, Kitty, the former beauty queen. She was curled up in a fetal position. While Eric Menendez was speaking to his shrink, he confesses that he murdered his parents along with his older brother, Lyle. They said they hated their father, they hated living in the home, and they wanted to rescue their mother from their father's infidelities. We learned that the brothers state to Dr. Oziel on tape that the father, Jose Menendez, died very quickly. But the mother, their mother, Kitty, did not. She was moaning and crying and was trying to crawl away from her own sons as they murdered her. And what did they do? The 2 brothers, Eric and Lyle Menendez, walk outside to the front porch, reload, and come back in and finish off the murder.
You know, you gotta love it when she goes, or what she do? I can't do it. I can't do it. But no, that is a good point. I mean, did they get a fair trial? I don't think so. Now, knowing what I know now from before, yeah, I don't think so.
Of their own mother.
She clicks the tongue. I can't do it. I
The
can't.
Menendez double murder trial was one of the first to become famous for humanizing the defendants in such a way.
The Menendez brothers are guilty of killing their parents. You can't take that away.
Now, these allegations of sexual abuse
They're not
by
new.
Jose Menendez as to the reason why Lyle and Eric Menendez killed their mother and their father, these are not new. Clearly, it was some of the motive that was presented by the defense during the trial. It's not new. But what is interesting now, 30 plus years after the crime, after they've served so many years, what is interesting now is the sexual abuse allegations are being brought up again, and they're being substantiated by a former Menudo boy band member.
Menudo had just signed with RCA Records, where Menendez was a top executive.
We now have evidence that makes absolutely clear that those boys were molested. And if those boys were molested, it would have been manslaughter, and they would be out.
So not only did family members in the Menendez household know about the molestation, now you have allegedly Jose Menendez molesting other boys outside of the family household.
The judge in this case, if he finds that the new evidence is credible and the conviction should be vacated, do you think the DA's office would seek a new trial?
I think they would spend a lot of time thinking about it.
Will any of these allegations help with Lyle and Eric Menendez's release from prison? Jose Menendez is connected to Menudo through RCA. Menudo. All right, so let me stop right here because I want to go back a little bit to the, where'd it go? Right here. To Andy Cano, so the cousin, okay? Remember they had that letter, and Eric is telling Andy about the abuse and whatnot, how he doesn't want to see his father and everything, okay? Andy Cano did testify at the brothers' trial. He said that Eric Menendez, at age 13, years before the killings, told him that his father was touching him inappropriately. He testified. Prosecutors at the trial suggested that Cano was lying. The brothers were tried twice. Their first trial ended in a mistrial when 2 juries, one for each brother, couldn't reach a unanimous decision as to whether Lyle and Eric were guilty of manslaughter or murder. When they were tried a second time, prosecutors attacked the abuse allegations more aggressively. They referred to the allegations as the abuse excuse. The abuse excuse. That's what they said. That trial resulted in the boys' conviction for first-degree murder. The attorney says this letter is proof that the abuse allegations were not made up. He says the letter was never presented at either trial and that it was discovered in a storage within the few years by Andy Cano's mother. Andy Cano died in 2003. Yes. The letter isn't the only piece of evidence that has resurfaced. Roy Rosselló, he's a Menudo member. Here is Jose Menendez right there, listen, smiling. with the boys, with the Menudo boys. Okay? Let me put this comment down. Let me take this myself off. That right there, my friends, is Jose Menendez right there. And he was one of the execs of RCA. Okay? This guy right here, this other guy right here, this other animal, his name is Edgar Diaz. Edgar Diaz. And these right here, these are the Menudo boys. All right? The young gentleman right here on the bottom, let's see if I can go down a little bit. This man right here, his name is Roy Rosselló, or Rosello, as people would say it in English. In Spanish is Roy Rosselló. In English is Roy Rosello. Okay? Allegedly, and this is being investigated, Edgar, this man right here, did a deal with RCA to have the Menudo boys signed to RCA at the expense, at the abuse of this young man right here, Roy Rosello. Okay? Right there. This man right here submitted a statement to the court that said that Jose Menendez had sexually abused him 3 different times, and it was graphic. Graphic. So now we have not only Andy Cano's letter, we got a young man outside of the family through RCA in a music group substantiating this abuse that Jose Menendez did to him. It's really sad. It is really sad. So if y'all don't want to believe the family, then at the very least listen to Roy's story, because it truly happened at the expense of this young man. Okay, and I want to talk a little bit about that. Okay, and I'm gonna just scoot over here, and I'm gonna give you guys the biggest trigger warning, and I mean the biggest trigger warning. Reads, I was born May 1st of 1969 in Puerto Rico. In 1983, I joined the Puerto Rican singing group Menudo. Menudo was a boy band formed by Edgardo Diaz in the late 1970s. I was in the group until 1986. In the fall of 1983 or 1984, the group was performing in New York. I recall that this was shortly before the time that Edgardo Diaz signed a record contract with RCA for the group. One evening at the hotel, Mr. Diaz told me that I would be having dinner with Jose Menendez, who was an RCA executive. Diaz said that I was going to do a favor and do something great for Menudo and for him. I was taken in a limousine to Jose Menendez's house. As I recall, it was in New Jersey. Jose Menendez was in the limousine, as was Edgardo Diaz. After arriving at the Menendez home, I saw one of his boys sitting behind the front door. I was directed to the dining room. Another boy was at the dining room table. Neither of the boys said anything to me. Jose Menendez was there along. Let me stop right here. So in his statement, he is saying that Roy saw the boys. Roy saw Kitty when he first met with Jose Menendez. Okay? He saw them. He was there. Yes, this y'all, it's the 80s. They got the hammer pants. They were dancing. I mean, they were big. They were dubbed the Spanish Beatles, right? Back then. I mean, the fashion was fashioning back then. You know what I'm saying? No worries, neuropsych. Feel better. And then baby girl says, why didn't they come forward back then? I don't think they came forward. Roy is not the first person that came forward. There was others that came forward in 1998. But you got to understand something. Menudo is a Puerto Rican. The founder was Puerto Rican, small little island. He's got the police bought off. He's got so many people bought off. I mean, it's a lot that he's been able to do with his money. So imagine, small little island. A lot of these boys are coming from families that don't have a lot of money. They're doing what they can to get by, and then also an opportunity to be famous, to travel around the world, to have fans. They were offered something that maybe a lot of people wouldn't be offered, right? So kind of keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. But in this specific statement, Roy talks about the fact that he meets Jose, has to sign something, talking to Kitty. Kitty was there. He was given a drink. He sees the brothers, okay? So he actually saw Lyle and Eric Menendez at this meeting, along with his wife, as was Edgardo Diaz. Jose Menendez offered me a glass of wine at the table and told me it was expensive wine, so I should drink the entire glass. I felt sick after drinking it. Things looked blurry and I felt like I could not move. I was partially pushed and partially carried down a hallway. It felt like I had no control over my body. Jose took me to a room. He closed the door. I could not move my body. He put me into a bed. I felt him take off my pants and felt him. I think I told him I did not want to do this. I recalled being carried back to the limousine. Later, I woke up in the hotel where the group was staying. I was in pain for weeks. The pain was unbearable. Edgardo Diaz said I would be better soon, and this was normal. I accused Diaz of selling my body to Jose Menendez. He told me not to mention this to anyone. This was not my only sexual experience with Jose Menendez. I recall a time Menudo was performing in New York. I think we were at Radio City Music Hall. Before the show, Edgardo Diaz told me to meet Jose Menendez in the bathroom for oral sex. When I went to the bathroom, fans were already in the audience screaming. I recall Jose Menendez telling me that the fans were screaming because he had made the group famous. Jose Menendez then orally, after that show, Edgardo Diaz said he had a last favor to ask. He asked me to go with Jose Menendez to a hotel. I went with Jose Menendez in a limousine to a hotel. It was not the hotel the group was staying at. I do not recall the name of the hotel, but I do recall that it was old fashioned. Jose Menendez took me to a room and told me he was going, so it did not hurt. He put me on the bed. He took my pants off. He took me back to my hotel afterwards. He opened the door to the limousine and said goodbye. I declare under penalty of perjury that the foregoing is true and correct. This is just one piece of evidence. Roy Rosello state. Alrighty. All right. So the whole video, you guys can watch it. It's in the description box. Check it out. It talks about just the other part of this situation. So I want to talk a little bit about, here we go. Hold up. Where'd it go? So here's this is where we left off. This is the photo here. This is where we were at. And so then Roy is now 54. He says he, in a sworn affidavit, we just heard that affidavit. Lyle Menendez says, when I first heard about it, I cried. For me, it was very meaningful to just have things come out that caused people to realize, okay, at least this part of what it's about is true. The Menendez brothers' attorney filed a habeas petition in May of 2023. We're about to hit the year mark of this habeas petition. You know what I'm saying? No worries, team maker. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shout out to you. What's the deal? What's the update? What's going to happen? I'm waiting to hear back. I mean, I know a lot of us are. We want to know. We want to know. There's a lot of comparisons that you can make here to Gypsy Rose. I had to point that out. But they're waiting to hear back to see what's going on. So May of 2023, citing the letter and Roy's affidavit as new evidence that proves his client's convictions should be vacated. The boys were abused as children. They were abused their whole life. And this is a manslaughter case, not a murder case. It's just that simple. Roy said to 48 Hours about the Menendez brother, my hope in the case is that the judge will realize that this new evidence is indeed credible and persuasive, and he'll vacate the conviction. If that happens, it would be up to the Los Angeles District Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office whether to retry the case. In a statement, the District Attorney's Office told 48 Hours it's investigating the claims made in the habeas petition. It is unclear when a judge will rule on the case. When will the judge rule on this case? Let me know. Let me know. Because we'd like to know. I don't know. I mean, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Should have reported it before the event, even if it wanted to take it into consideration. Ooh, pre-planning makes it not manslaughter. But indeed, at that point, it's a murder. Absolutely. Possibly because he knows he done wrong. He was unfair. Let me see what y'all are saying in the chat. Layla says, so they were getting treated like how Puff Daddy, thank you, and all those weirdos treated the young talent. Even other adults trying to catch a break. Yeah. I would agree with that. I feel like there's a lot of similarities, and the reason why they don't talk about the Menudo founder and creator, who, I mean, he's up there with Weinstein. He's up there with a lot of these characters, and should be looked at and should be really talked about. But there's a lot of people that protected a lot of people, and a lot of careers. Unfortunately, a lot of careers, including Ricky Martin's career, in my opinion, were established off of Roy's trauma, Roy being a victim. That's what had happened there. It's unfortunate, but it's how I see it. You know, my favorite question just have my forever question. Why am I making up words? My forever question might just have an answer. At what point does a victim become a survivor versus a victimizer? When the victim is allowed. It's a great question. I don't think I have an answer for that. I don't think I have an answer for that whatsoever. But that's a great question. That's a great question. And I mean, I think, okay, so let's go back to Gypsy Rose just a little bit, all right? Every time, if I Google search Gypsy Rose name, I mean, you got the Rolling Stones doing an article about how she doesn't want to do social media and is wanting to do more reality life stuff or some shit like that, right? And like I said, it's, the fan base is a bit polarizing. It's like you're either for Gypsy Rose or you're against her. There is no in between. And I almost kind of wonder what is going to happen if this Menendez situation actually goes through, and this habeas corpus, a judge sees it and says, yeah, there's definitely something that needs to be looked at. What are we going to do now? This is an interesting time in media, I think, and I'm kind of wondering what next steps are going to be taken. You said Chico says, I don't agree with the whole Gypsy making money off of a crime, but that's just me. You're not the only one who feels that way. Tammy says, I would think that it's taking a while to go through of all the court transcripts and depositions, especially the ones that weren't allowed to be admitted into trial. Thank you, Tammy. Very much true. You don't think the Menendez brothers are a danger to a public? Well, is Gypsy Rose a danger to the public? Evil? I'm asking everybody. Anybody can answer this question. Baby girl says, that's why these cases are so tough, as there is usually no witnesses other than the people involved. Absolutely. Absolutely. Everything that's done in the dark just comes to light. It may take time, but it does. Absolutely. I don't think it's uncommon for people to snap after years of abuse. That's why we have a battered spouse defense. Good point. But Julie, we didn't have that then. We didn't. I don't think any of that was used with Gypsy Rose or with the Menendez brothers. The defense was not really looked at. E News or ET News. Gypsy Rose Blanchard addresses scrutiny she faced since being released from prison. I mean, she's always addressing something, always talking about something. She says in the series of lengthy TikTok videos she posted Thursday, the 32-year-old explains why she recently deleted her Instagram account, which at its height had garnered 7.8 million followers. Blanchard has since made her account private, and she's going to keep it that way. I do my best to I do my best to live my authentic life and what's real to me. And what's not real is social media. Lord have mercy. But isn't she doing a reality show right now? I mean, let me know. I feel Gypsy is capable, even if it was persuaded or manipulated. Oh, Lord have mercy. I thought anyone committed a crime couldn't profit off of it. Nope, that's not true, Perry. I invited an attorney here and we talked a little bit about that. Gypsy Rose can profit off of what happened. That law specifically is only applicable to certain states, not the one that she resides in, which I think is Louisiana or something. Yeah. So yeah, she can profit. Anybody can profit. New York specific. If the crime can happen in New York, it would have been a different story. But we did do a video about who can profit and whether she can or can't profit. Isn't there a law that prohibits inmates from making money? You're talking about the Son of Sam law. We did talk about that a couple lives ago. She is able to make money off of that. We did a live and we actually invited an attorney to break it down for us, which was actually great. Gypsy Rose energy doesn't sit right with me for some reason. Her mother was horrible and extremely problematic. However, something about her doesn't sit right. Well, a lot of people feel like, Layla, a lot of people are with you on this one. But here's my question. Here's the $1 million question that I have been asking. And I've been asking, thank you, Stephanie, and asking at the beginning. Are the Menendez boys comparable to Gypsy Rose? And go look back at Gypsy Rose's case and look at the Menendez Brothers case and figure out, based on everything that has happened, can you make a comparison to them? You said yes? Yes? Everybody? All right. Dance says yes. You believe you can? All right. So see, and I woke up thinking about this and I said, somebody's got to have a conversation about this. And we're waiting to hear back on this habeas corpus thing, habeas petition. I think that's what it's called, habeas petition. Yes, you do believe that there's comparable. All right. All right. That's a great. How do you compare suffering from one individual to the next? Well, I'm not comparing the suffering, Carol. Don't get that. That's not what I'm doing. I'm comparing the events of what happened and what led up to the crimes and kind of the different things that played out on media. That's what I'm comparing, not the suffering. I'm not. This is different. It's subjective. Like that, you can't do that. Can't compare that. She's still in probation, and I'm surprised she's allowed to do all that traveling. Well, she could make the argument that it's for work, you know? Yeah, you can't compare. Everybody's suffering is different. My suffering is different from yours and everybody. But as far as how the case is played out and different things, you can make definitely some similarities. For sure. All right, guys. So I'm so happy that y'all were here for my chat. I just wanted to get this off my chest and thought I'd, present a couple things here and there for you. Make sure you watch the video in full. This video right here. It's in the description box. Hold up. This one right here. I called it the Menendez. What did I call it? Yeah. Can't even see it. The Menendez Brothers and Menudo Connection. Roy Rosselló, Ricky Martin, Silence by the Industry. A benefit. Oh, thank you so much. Do the right thing. She says, forever a supporter, even if I'm in if you're tired in the bushes. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Do the right thing. And thank you for the $4.99. You're awesome. I will see you guys on the next one. Make sure you hit the like button. Okay. And I'll be live later on today to talk about, we're probably going to talk about some SPTV stuff, as well as the Riley, who is missing out of Tennessee. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. Rabbits out. Bye, guys.